Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the secret behind breadcrumbs from your ex. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing the secret behind breadcrumbs from your ex. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will likely feel confused if you receive tiny scraps of contact from them. In today's podcast, I'm discussing 3 secrets behind breadcrumbs from your ex. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is most are done subconsciously. So if you receive a short message from your ex, maybe you receive a random comment, perhaps you have a like on a post you put on social media, something where you are thinking, is this a breadcrumb? What does my ex-dumper actually mean? Are they wanting me back? Are they playing games with me? I'm really confused. There is no strong message from them. It's either a random few words directly, or perhaps a comment, or like I said, maybe a reaction. What does it mean? Well, the first thing to say, the first secret we're talking about in today's podcast is that most are done subconsciously. When we consider all breadcrumbs which have been sent to dumpees, only a small percentage of those are actually deliberately planned. Now you as a dumpee, you're going through a difficult time. Your mindset is likely filled with anxiety, and therefore, if you are having a difficult day, it's very easy for you to slip into the thought process of my ex-dumper is teasing me, my ex-dumper is leading me on, my ex-dumper is playing games, my ex-dumper is using me, they're trying to keep me on the hook. All of those things are going to cross your mind, dumpees, and it's completely understandable. So firstly, please remove that thought process of stress and anxiety about why you're even thinking of this. It's very understandable. Don't beat yourself up for thinking of these things. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try and remove those thoughts completely, but it is understandable because some dumpees will speak to me and say, hey, am I going crazy? Why do I keep thinking these things? No, you're not going crazy. It's understandable. It's not the healthiest of mindsets, and we are going to try and move you through this to a healthier, more secure position, but it is understandable. Now, what your ex-dumper is actually doing to you is not necessarily the horrible games and tricks that you might think they are doing during your darkest hours. Now, can I say definitively that your ex-dumper is playing games or isn't playing games? I can't say definitively what they are doing, but what I can say is that from the dumpers I've spoke to over the many years I've done this job, only a small percentage of them have said that this is something that they're actively doing. They're actively trying to cause confusion. They're actively trying to keep their dumpee on the hook. Only a very small percentage of people have told me that they are doing these things deliberately. Most dumpers are not playing these games that as dumpees you might be fearful of. Most dumpers are doing this subconsciously. They're not meaning to send you just a few words. They're not meaning to react to something. They're not meaning to do anything which then causes you anxiety. They're not thinking, well, if I send my dumpee this, it's going to make them think that. Most dumpers are not doing this. So the importance of point number 1 is to get across, dumpees, is that your ex is not necessarily someone who is trying to cause you mental harm. They're not trying to keep you in a box, so to speak, where you don't feel you can move on because they've got you on the hook and they're trying to almost torture you with words. These things are not likely to be the case. More than likely, your dumper would be horrified to find out that you are feeling these things because you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling down. Why won't my dumper either get back with me or leave me alone? Why do they keep coming back with these handful of words? Why do they come back and give my post on social media a like? Why do they view my stories but never ever say anything to me? Most dumpers are not deliberately trying to cause you distress. Most dumpers are not trying to play mind games. Most dumpers are doing this subconsciously. It's not something that they're planning per se, it's just something that they feel is appropriate at the time. And if they thought about it to the depth that you dumpees are considering, they would probably recognise that it's not the best move. It's not something that they should be doing because they're neither here nor there. They're no longer fully within your life. They're no longer trying to be in a relationship with you at this point, but they're also not setting you free. They're not allowing you to live your life the way that you wish if they don't want to be in it. So please, dumpees, recognise that most dumpers are giving you breadcrumbs subconsciously. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have a new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is if they are deliberate, there are still positives. So remember I said in point number 1, only a small percentage of dumpers are deliberately giving you breadcrumbs. Most are subconscious, but there is still a small percentage where unfortunately it is deliberate, it is a plan, it is a ploy. Now, if you fall into that category, dumpees, where you are receiving deliberate breadcrumbs from your ex, well, there are still some positives for you to take. And the reason I say this is let's consider what is going on here. Your ex-dumper is deliberately giving you breadcrumbs in this regard for a reason. These are the people who are doing it for a deliberate reason, not subconsciously, and they are trying to just give you a few words here, a like there, a smiley, whatever it may be. Now, why would they be doing that? We've already said in point number 1, unfortunately, people who fall into this category might be trying to do it to potentially keep you on the hook. They might be trying to do it to almost cause you some frustration or negativity. But even if they are doing these things, it is because you are on their mind. And that is the positive angle to take from this. Of course, it's not nice to have breadcrumbs from anyone who is not being authentic. If they don't want to get back in a relationship with you, why won't they leave you alone? And if you find out that they are doing it because they want to frustrate you, well, that doesn't make you feel good. But if you were to consider, why are you on their mind? Well, maybe that is where you can find that silver lining. And that is because dumpers who fall into this small category of doing it deliberately are doing it because they can't find someone better than you within their life. They can't find a connection which allows them to move on fully. Because if they did, why would they spend their time contacting you? Nobody contacts anyone for no reason. They're always doing it for a reason. If your ex-dumper is sending you a few words in a message and they are deliberately doing it for some bizarre reason to try and either cause you frustration or maybe to keep you on the hook, it's because they haven't found a better option, okay? And this is where we can get those positives. If they want you on the hook, it's because they want you as that plan B, as that backup option. That doesn't sound good. That's not what, as a dumpee, you want to hear necessarily, but just consider it. They want you there because they're not too sure they are going to find anybody better, and right now they certainly haven't. If they'd found somebody better, they wouldn't be spending time keeping you on the hook. So that is the positive to take. Your ex-dumper is still viewing you in a way where you could be a potential romantic option. Now, if they are doing it from a perspective of negativity as a deliberate breadcrumbing effort, that's not nice to hear, dumpees. And I'm not saying that you should put up with being a backup plan. I'm not saying you should be accepting them trying to frustrate you almost in a way to keep you in their orbit in some strange regard. I'm not saying you should be accepting this. All I am saying is that if your dumper is behaving this way, if your dumper is trying to cause you to feel a certain way through breadcrumbs, well, this means that they haven't moved on. It means that they can't find anybody better right now. It also means they're not confident that they are going to find anybody better. Now, you should be the A side of a relationship, dumpees. You should never be the B side. You should never be waiting around. I always suggest that you should be living your life in a way where you move forward, you make your own new connections, and you do your thing. And if you find somebody better than your ex-dumper, you should absolutely go for it and try and find a more enjoyable relationship for you. It's not just about them, it's about you as well. However, if your ex-dumper is breadcrumbing you, don't ever think that they don't care. Even if they're doing it for a somewhat negative reason, which is unlikely, as I've already said, if they are doing that because they can't find anyone better than you, they don't know what to do with their life, you are on their mind, you are the best thing that they had before and are still right now, and who knows, in the future, they might get to the point of where they actually start to respect the fact, rather than feel annoyed almost, that they can't find anybody better. They might realise that you're a good person, and that you two were a good fit, and okay, you had some problems, but you can resolve them, and you can get back together, even if the dumper is initially breadcrumbing you for the wrong reason. They can come to that realisation it was wrong. They might even apologise for their behaviour. You don't know as a dumpee exactly the perspective your dumper is coming to, but just remember that even if they fall into that smaller category of dumpers, there are some positives for you to take. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is dumper fear can be a reason. So today we're speaking about the secrets behind breadcrumbs from your ex. And point number 3 is absolutely vital for you to understand. And that is that dumper fear could be the reason as for why they are breadcrumbing you. And this, as a dumpee, is probably the most positive thing that you could hear right now, as something as for why they're behaving in a way where you just get these random messages saying things such as, hi. Messages which are just one word or maybe a few words, really, really frustrating. Like in a social media post, you're thinking, what's going on? Well, some dumpers have told me the reason they breadcrumb is because they are feeling nervous, they're feeling scared. This is dumper fear. Now, your ex-dumper unfortunately ended your relationship. This is something which you are going through heartbreak. Probably right now, you're still going through the grind. Your ex-dumper knows this. They're not daft, they're not silly, they're not stupid. They know that you're going through a difficult time. And this isn't going to make them feel good. Most dumpers feel terrible that you feel terrible. And they recognise what they have done has broken your heart. They didn't want to cause you that pain. They only did it because they felt there was no other option for them. They lost romantic emotional attraction. They didn't feel there was a way round this other than ending your relationship. Now, if and when your ex-dumper concludes that that was a bad choice, that was a bad decision, due to you as a dumpee living your life the right way, them living their life where they start to realise that the grass isn't always greener, they get into a point where they feel confused themselves, you're doing your thing, they're realising that their life isn't that great. They've realised they've made a mistake. They're starting to feel dumper regret. Now, what happens here? Well, they might want to reach out to you, but they recognise the pain they've caused you. Your ex-dumper realises they've caused you pain, sadness, upset. They're realising that you probably don't want to hear from them. Now, you as a dumpee might think, well, yes, I do want to hear from my ex. But consider it from the other way round. They've hurt you, they know they've hurt you, and they are worried about what you might say if they reach out. So what are they going to do about that? Well, they're going to be very, very tentative, very nervous. They're not going to go straight in and say, hi, I miss you so much, let's get back together. Now, that is not going to happen most of the time. It's not going to be like a Disney film. This is more likely going to be a situation where they tread carefully. Now, some dumpers will reach out using what I call the indirect direct approach. They message you directly, but they give an indirect reason as for why they are doing it. Maybe they mention something totally random, such as, hey, did you see that your favourite movie is going to be on TV next week? And you're thinking, well, why are you telling me this? You dumped me 9 months ago. I've not heard from you since. Why are you contacting me now? This is the type of indirect direct approach that some dumpers will send dumpees. However, sometimes dumpers will send proper breadcrumbs which are 1, 2, 3 words long. Hi, how are you? something such as that out of the blue where you feel really, really confused, you might respond, but then you hear nothing more and you think, why are you breadcrumbing me? What was the point in this? Maybe you respond similarly to how they sent the message. Maybe you send a longer message back and you hear nothing. And you think, what was the point? Why are they doing this to me? Well, this is where dumper fear comes in, because dumpers have told me that sometimes they are scared of your reaction. And even if you respond positively, they might be cautious and thinking, well, do I actually want to get back together? Is this completely what I think will work? I definitely don't want to lead my ex, the dumpee, on anymore. I don't want to cause him any more pain. Maybe I need to just think about this a little bit more. So I'm going to step away and have a think. This is where they are breadcrumbing you, not for a negative reason, not for a subconscious reason, but a deliberate, thoughtful, fearful reason. They are scared that if they say the wrong thing, you might either block them, you might say something bad to them, you might have an argument, you might say something which really blows out of the water everything that they're hoping, which is they're kind of considering, maybe we can get back together, but they just don't know how to go about it at this time. And they are the secrets behind breadcrumbs from your ex.